Good afternoon, people. This is Julie Nelson, Rich Witch, artisan botanical perfumer and astrologer. I am also an animal activist and I adore animals. And I have with me here today a lady that I am so inspired by. She is doing so much, Billie Dean, and I'm going to hand you over to her in a minute. First, though, we're going to be talking about Brumbies, the Brumbies of Australia, the movie that Billie Dean has made and the success it's having. And she is also going to read an excerpt out of a book that, did you write, Billie?
Yes.
Cool. And
The Fae Elder's Guide to the Higher Dimensions.
oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So one of the reasons why this is important to me is I am the owner of unicorns. I have 5 mini horses. I refer to them as unicorns. They're my greatest healing. They are magic. Their heart energy is out of this world. It's hard to explain. You need to be with them to truly grasp that magic that they hold. And my youngest one is turning 10 soon, and my 2 eldest, I say I've had them for 20 years, but I think it's 21 now. And I've had them since they were 6 months young. And I've moved around a lot through separation and, all different things, floods, fires, you name it. And my horses are always with me. They are a priority. So in saying that, I'm so happy to have Billie here because this is a topic that is very, very close to my heart. And we as humans have so much to learn about these beautiful animals and how we can help them and save them. So I'm handing it over to you, Billie, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, Julie. I really, really appreciate it. The Brumbies of Australia, like the Mustangs in the USA, are in big trouble. And, right now we have the problem of counts being falsified and a whole lot of propaganda going out. And it's just so unjust. And that's what gets me. Here we have a sanctuary and it's called a place of peace. And it's probably the largest in Australia because we might have the same number of animals as other people, but ours are big. We have, hundreds and, a herd of 84 cows and over 80 wild horses and 150 odd sheep. There's just so many, and they're large animals, so it takes a lot to keep up the feed and all that sort of stuff, especially during drought. But that's beside the point. The point is that for many, many years, almost 2 decades, I've been living with wild horses, and I've been around horses since I was 6. But the wild horses, and I've been rescuing horses for a very long time. So around me, I've nursed and rehabilitated and hung out with, all kinds of race horses and abused horses and everything. And people would come here and say, "Oh my goodness, it's so peaceful." And I realized it was because there was no pressure on the horses. So they were able to be living in a situation where they were sort of free. Nothing was required of them. They just got fed and they all roamed in a big herd. But I knew nothing. I knew nothing compared to what I know now, having lived with the wild horses, because I've been studying them and their herd structure and how they live and how they interact with the land. And it's amazing. I have learnt so much on how we really need to keep our domestic horses. And you know,
Mm.
and the psychology of what makes a horse tick. And you know, I've always been interested in helping the wild horse because the government seems to be against them. And then I started having arguments with greens, and I used to be a green until they turned against kangaroos and brumbies, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
now I have no time for them at all,
Mm-hmm.
um, because they were making outrageous statements about these wild horses, and I live with them on my land. Our property is rich with wildlife.
Mm.
The horses don't affect the wildlife.
Of
In
course they
fact, they
don't.
live in a symbiotic relationship with them. You know, it's ridiculous to even think about it. And so I started to, particularly in the just a second, have to just my little puppy will make great noises.
Don't worry about it. Honestly, don't worry.
He'll be scratching himself and carrying on, and anyway, that's okay. Um, where was I? Yes, since the fires, it's been particularly bad, and I can remember um, there was under Matt Keane, our New South Wales Environment Minister, suddenly we were getting, 1080, absolutely, a million drops of 1080. He thought that was a great idea, and I was absolutely horrified. Now, one of the things that people have to understand is that I live next to a national park, and I smelt smoke on the 26th of November 2019, and I was fully expecting it to be put out, you know, but it wasn't. There was no helicopters, there was no water bombing, there was no nothing. There was nothing.
So what
And
happened?
well, New South Wales Parks and Wildlife told our guys they weren't allowed to be in the park and that they had it under control, and they didn't. And so by the time it reached our sanctuary, it was an inferno.
I've heard of this happening before. Shame
Mm,
on them.
yeah. And they don't have to live with charred remains. And, I'm vegan. We're all vegan here. And to live for 2 months smelling dead flesh was kind of really disgusting.
Yeah.
And
And of course they don't understand. They don't, none of them understand because they don't live what
no,
some of us live. They don't experience it. They don't know about the wildlife. They don't even know about birds and any of our wildlife. They've got no fucking idea, actually. They're
no,
just like,
no, they don't. And I can remember I made a video at the time. I didn't publish it, but I thought I would later. um, but oh, I just, there was so much trauma. And to add 1080 in the mix after everyone was so traumatized, and this was his very cold cleanup plan. And I just couldn't believe it. And I was on the phone to New South Wales Parks and Wildlife and to the local ranger who was, saying all the landholders, all our neighbors will be getting this, and you can, rest assured it'll be going on, forever. And I'm going,
wow.
why? And I'm on the phone and I'm saying, no, 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 we can't have this. It's bad, and we'll lose other animals. And anyway,
Mm.
they wouldn't have a bar of it. They said, oh, but Billy, you know, the other alternative is cyanide. And I'm going, do you know that there's a fox and dingo rescue just an hour away? But no, that's not cost effective. And you know why they were doing it? They told me firsthand they were doing it to appease their neighbors.
Oh.
And their neighbors were sheep farmers. That's who they're doing it for. This is why the
Yes.
world needs to go vegan. Seriously.
Yeah.
They
I
didn't,
hear you.
the sheep farmers didn't want wild dogs coming out of the fire. It was an inferno. It's amazing anyone survived.
Yeah, and I want to interrupt here because I can't help myself and just say, why do we have wild dogs? Why do we have foxes? Everything that has created an issue is because of human intervention. This is why we have, wild cats, and people blame the cats, and I love cats, but it's people that dump the animals. It's humans that brought the foxes in, or brought the toads in, or brought different spiders in. And the sooner that kind of thing is addressed, the healthier our environment's going to be for a start. And I do hear you, poisoning is not acceptable. It's actually incredibly cruel, regardless of the animal. It is absolutely cruel. And I understand what you're saying about farmers, because I've lived in areas around a lot of farmers, and I've never seen abuse like it in my life with their own animals that they are farming, and I've had arguments with them. So I totally hear where you're coming from. Continue, please. I just had to share that because a lot of the time people blame the animals, whereas in actual fact it's the humans. And when they start taking responsibility for this, perhaps our wildlife can thrive.
Well, it's not just, I mean, well, this
nature.
this brings us straight into the Brumbies, because the Brumbies are being blamed for all these things, when really the Snowy Mountains was doing just fine with Brumbies, because they have lived on this planet for over 30 million years.
Mm-hmm.
And they survive because of their amazing, incredible adaptability.
Yes.
They adapt to the environment they live in. So they have adapted to the Australian environment. And instead of doing a whole lot of damage, they're actually doing a lot of good. And, I would say every animal, I would go even higher and say there is a reason that every animal is here.
Oh, I agree, Billie. Every animal has its purpose to keep balance in the ecosystem, and the only ones that fuck it up are the humans.
Humans. Yeah. Well, that's right.
And the reason one of the reasons why they don't want them around is because the humans are taking over everywhere. And I know that, population is going to grow, but don't give poor excuses, outright lie and deceive people to get your own way. That's what I say to them.
And this is really, really wrong. I mean, we're being told that right now, here in August, we've been told that there's 23,000 horses down in the KNP. Now, last year, everybody went, there was a whole lot of politicians who went down, including Emma Hurst of the AJP. And Emma came here after going down to do a count. She said, Billie, we couldn't find 1,000 horses.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really shocked when in February they started this propaganda push again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was 14,000. I'm going, well, how do they get, out of 1,000, how do they get 14? And, these animals, I live with them. They produce one foal a year. Not all of them are female, and not all females give birth.
Yes.
Not all females, the stallion usually has one or two that are his very close wives. He has one close wife. And, and then he had, it's not, they can't and you've got a professor at the ANU saying that they have litters. And I'm going, what? Who would believe that? But city people do believe it because they don't know.
Well,
and now, here it is in August, Julie, and they're saying there's 23,500. And I'm going,
They're
How can they
bullshit.
make this up? How can they think that we are so gullible that we can? I'm just flabbergasted. I really
I
am.
can see, but I have to say that the sad truth is that there are so many people that would believe them because they either want to bury their heads in the sand, they don't want to believe it, or they're fucking stupid, quite frankly. And I don't even care if I upset people because that's the truth. And people need to take more responsibility and question the status quo and go and do the research and not be like, oh God, I'm going to get angry, but like dumb fucks that just believe what these politicians say because they always have an agenda. And so they will do whatever they can to convince people. And I know, having horses in my life for 20 years, that there is no way horses could produce like that. What I do believe is that perhaps in the racing industry, they have the potential to produce like that because they have no respect, no care, and they'll just keep bringing horses in and treating them like a piece of garbage, So I have a lot to say about that as well.
Yes.
I
They're
find
still
it one
not
of the
going to have
most
more than
disgusting.
one a year. That
It
takes
can't.
11 months. They can't. So, but what's really upsetting is that in the beginning of June, 70 people went out and did a count. And again, really not very many Brumbies. And they presented this figure, and another woman who was a biostatistician, statistician, she did a count, and these were both given to Penny Sharp, who said, "Oh, there seems to be a discrepancy." And we were all expecting her to go, "Oh, well, we'll look into it," as a decent person would.
Yeah, you don't even have
And
to be decent. It just, like, honestly, and intelligent.
honest, intelligent, honest. Anyway, and to our absolute shock, instead of going, "Oh, we need to do a count, or we need to look at this," she comes out and says, "Oh no, there's 23,000, and now we have to do aerial culling." Like, it's all, let's just eradicate them. There's under 1,000, under 1,000. Okay,
Shame on you.
the people who went out on horseback and walked and drove and everything. Emma couldn't count 1,000. They could when they went up. And the other people, when they went out at the beginning of June, they got up to 563. Or was it 600? No, 500. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was that low. So
So,
and they're still just taking them out. They're still trapping them, slaughtering them, taking them, gunning them down. And I have to tell people about what a cull is, because I find so many people think that a cull is okay. And then we had the RSPCA coming out and saying, "Oh, a cull is humane. You just do one shot."
what a lot of
Doesn't
bullshit.
anyone remember the Guy Fawkes massacre and the outcry that Australia did when they saw the footage of what a cull actually is? And then the Labor government said, no more culling, no more aerial culling ever. The Liberal government went and did it for the singleton, but you would expect the Labor government to stick to what they said. But no, Penny Sharp is there pushing for this aerial culling, and I just think it's absolutely monstrously and hideously cruel.
Oh, absolutely, it is cruel. And look, mathematics is not my best topic, but honestly, it's pretty easy to work out. In between that time, in less than a year, we wouldn't even have an extra foal.
No, there's no extra foals. They haven't been. They give birth over spring and summer. Not, we might get, one or two maybe in winter if they survive, but so it's
I,
really not I just the injustice is the
Yeah.
injustice to who these beings really are.
Yeah. Who do
And
they think they are to take that on? So I have a question then. Um, how can we help? What do we need to do besides sharing? Like I'll share this everywhere and ask people to share it. But is there anything else? Because what I believe is until the people have the courage and boldness to stand up and say enough, and there is more than enough things that need that to be done. I even question, why are people not doing it? I have my own, I'm not even going to share them because I may insult some people, but one of it's ignorance, and I'm not being awful by saying that. They simply don't understand or don't know. They need to challenge the status quo. They need to look into this. And if they have any empathy for any animals at all, then they should be questioning this. Why are their lies being told? So, Billie, what can we do as people to get these people in power that should not be in power to actually listen and be open to hearing the truth? Why are they lying?
I don't know. I mean, I can only tell you my journey. And my journey was, I wrote to, when Matt Keane started to talk about more culling of horses, and I'm sort of thinking, we've just had the fires and they got burnt too. I wrote to John and said, he was our local member, John Barolero, and said, we need help. I'm very upset about what's happening with the Brumbies. And he showed me, he sent back a letter he was writing to Matt Keane, and I thought, this is great. I've got a politician listening to me. That's wonderful. He's listening to his constituents. That's terrific. He went and had a meeting with Matt Keane and turned. I don't know what happened at that meeting.
Okay.
But we weren't, then he just, I don't know, disappeared. So
okay.
we had a rally in Queanbeyan. We went to his office. They wouldn't even open the doors to let us in with petitions. We went to Parks and Wildlife. They wouldn't let us upstairs to take petitions either. So the whole thing, everything got shut in our face right then. You write to politicians about anything else, and they'll write back to you. You write to them about the Brumbies, and they don't even bother.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things they don't respond to be honest. Yes.
With this story, I don't know, but I did see that Matt Keane was proposing an Aspen tourist resort down in the Snowy, and an international airport. I haven't heard anything about them since, but I also have seen that the government was trying to get more than the 3 million tourists that they have. Now you think about it, 3 million tourists trampling the wilderness.
Yes.
That is not horse damage. That is 3 million, again, people who aren't used to living in the wilderness. They
Or
go down there with
respecting it.
or respecting it. They don't understand. They go down there with their 4-wheel drives, this, that, and the other. And, and I've heard people get really angry about, I nearly ran into a bloody wild horse on the road down there. And it's like, that's their
Hello.
country.
this is their country, their land,
Yeah,
the ones that are coming into their space. It's like when people think sharks should be killed because somebody got eaten. Well, it's hello, you've gone
yeah,
into their territory, you know
yeah.
the risks. I want to look, I see a lot of stuff up here in the Blue Mountains. We've got high tourism here, and the disrespect is phenomenal. So how about we go into you reading some of your book?
Well, before we do that, that would be good. Before we do that, you asked what everyone could do.
Yes,
Everyone, Penny Sharp is taking submissions. Do we aerial cull or not? So I unfortunately don't have her email address right now. I should have had it ready.
that's
Um,
okay. You can give that to me ASAP, and I'll put it in the
okay.
notes.
Yeah, that'd be good. And so she's inviting the public to put in a submission. If everyone can say no to aerial culling and to leave our Brumbies alone, we're supposed to, by legislation, we're supposed to have 3,000.
Brumbies.
That's a whole other thing. We are less than 3,000.
Yeah,
So she's in breach already. They're in breach, but they're still continuing to get rid of horses as fast as they can. Now,
because they want to open
um,
up the land for whatever they're proposing to build on it.
yeah, well, and also, I've heard rumors of, like the BLM are doing in the USA, they want to, I don't know, mine it, log it, put sheep and cows on it. So all this thing about, oh no, we've got to protect these little beings who are almost extinct, that she goes on about. It's not true. They don't want to. If they did, they would have Brumbies there because they actually
Absolutely.
protect them, and they protect they act as a large herbivore, which humans killed, which we used to have down there, but humans killed them off. And we used to have the mega fauna, the mega large kangaroos. Um, so I don't really know what their agenda is, but these are my sort of suspicions, that they want more tourists there, that tourists complain
No
about
doubt.
horse manure, blah, 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 blah. Who
Yeah,
knows? I don't
no
know.
doubt. And horse
On
manure is so good for the earth,
I
by the
know,
way.
and particularly Brumby manure, because they
Native.
increase biodiversity. It's in
Yes.
just anyway, beside the point. We need to write into Penny Sharp, flood her,
Okay.
because um, you know, there is a rumor at the moment. I haven't seen an official a thing from Penny Sharp yet. But yesterday, I did see something from Emma Hurst. But I'm really fuzzy on the details so far.
That's okay.
I want
That's something that
I want to
can be
see I want to see Penny Sharp say we're doing a recount.
good. Okay, so that's
And
what.
I want to see that. There's a rumor that she is going to be doing a recount in October. She's given us till September 11 to write in with a submission. And what we're trying to push is that some of the pro-Bumby people are at that table, and there is a
Yeah.
rumor that that's going to happen. But
Okay.
that's a rumor, and I'm sorry, but I'm kind of,
I
until it
hear you.
happens,
You you
until it
you
happens,
yes.
I can't get my hopes up, because I tell you what, this situation, for those of us who know horses and love horses and care, I'm going to cry in a minute. This
I
is
hear
heartbreaking.
it
This
is.
is soul destroying,
Yeah.
absolutely soul destroying. The thing that we can do is we need to educate each other,
Yes.
and tell people that everything that the media is saying, except for the people who are pro Brumby, it's all lies. I've done my research. I'm doing a documentary. I have talked to ecologists and scientists and all kinds of people, to find out the positives about the wild horses, what
Yes.
they actually do. And the corroboree frog, it's been killed by a virus.
Yeah.
The chrytid fungus virus, and that's a global phenomenon, and it's
Yes.
affecting. And it's brought in by tourists. It was
Yes.
brought
Oh, of
in by tourists.
course. Of course.
Everything was doing fine until we opened that wilderness up into a park.
Yeah, I hear.
And
And
humans have this idea, particularly city people, a park that's for us to play in. And
no,
it's not, it's a wilderness for
life.
where wild people live, wild beings live. That's their
Yes.
home.
Yes.
So anyway,
All
apart from
right.
all that, then we did the documentary. I'm doing the documentary, but I also made this little film, Ode to Wild Horses. And I had about 4 hours to get it into a film festival. And I couldn't finish my documentary in time. And so I wrote a very kind of personal essay, and we put it to footage of all the wild horses around here. And it struck a note, it struck a chord, and now it's gone international. We've been invited to screen it in Sweden and India and France and Spain, just everywhere. Like, it's
This is
just going,
incredible, and it
yeah.
needs to be shown all around Australia. And just for anybody that wants to see it, I'll put this in the notes. It's really important to help get this out, because the work you're doing is phenomenal. And I really do want to be a part of helping it. And I think what we'll do is have more talks, Billie, just to keep putting it
Keep the
out
momentum. Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
actually feeling so, yeah, all right. We'll do a recap at the end, but any more to say on Ode to Horses?
to wild horses, no, but I'm really pleased that, even though it's a little tiny film, that it's making an emotional impact. It makes people feel, and
Yes.
it is beautiful. I mean, I went to Sydney. We were a runner-up in the SF3 International Film Festival in Sydney, and I shot it on my iPhone,
It's
and
fantastic
it's
what you've done.
it looked amazing on the big screen, I have to say, and it's so beautiful. And I didn't realize, like, we were just trying to make the deadline.
Well,
And
just by the by, I mean, it will be in the notes, but where can we see your movie?
well, I haven't, because it's still on the film festival circuit, I haven't released it yet, but I will be
Okay,
soon on our YouTube.
great.
um it'll
Well,
be on
we'll
our
put your
YouTube.
YouTube
Yeah.
details in the
Yeah.
comments.
And I've got my other rants about horses there, and all the reasons why I love them, and why, and stuff that's coming out through my research with the documentary. And like, I interviewed the Heart Math Institute, and
Oh,
learned about the magnetic field around a
yes,
horse's heart, and
it's
they're actually
huge.
healing everything. Yeah, they're healing everything. So they're
Well,
earth restorers, not destroyers.
absolutely.
Um,
And as I said at the beginning of this, I've had two of my guys for 20 plus years and bred three. And I don't rug my horses. I let them be, even though they are um, domestic horses. I try to let them live as naturally as possible. And they're strong, they're thriving, and they're hardy, because I don't pamper them as a human wants to. They need to be who they were born to be, as we do, and they are my greatest healing. And I understand heart math, and I often say to people, a horse's heart energy is huge. And when I sit down in the paddock with mine, I mean, they're only little, but they've got massive energy. You know, the tallest one's 34 inches high from the wither, and the smallest 30 inches. And they hang around me, you know, especially the younger ones. And I just sit on the ground. I can lie down there, and they just stand around me, and they nibble and they lick me. One likes to nibble, one loves to lick, one likes to get my hair bun and play with it. And I love these guys so much. I can't even explain it. But horses, all animals are healing. And due to my own experience, intimate experience with horses, and for 2 decades, they are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And where I go, they go. I would never, people say, why don't you separate them? They're a burden. And I'm going, are you
Oh my
crazy?
goodness.
Not a burden. They heal me. They've healed me in my darkest moments. They are my friends. When I'm with them, I become one of the herd.
Yeah.
And they are my equal. I am their equal, actually, because we have so much to learn from them. And what I mean by that is that I sit in their energy. I respect them. I honor them. And the love I have for them is great. It's great love. So I'll stop going on, because I can go on about them for ages. Would you
Well,
like
I think it's an experience that, you know, a lot of people miss out on. And that's the beauty of, like, you know, keeping you know, wild horses, you know, like, you know, photographers, a lot of people have that experience without being able to put it into words why they are so attracted to the wild horses. And I think, you know, one of the reasons, you know, they don't have to be in their faces or anything. They can be a respectful distance, because this magnetic field goes out 9 meters,
Mm-hmm.
and they still get this heart coherent state. They can get into a heart coherent state from just being in their presence and just seeing them. And it's a real thrill to see them in the wild, because, you know, they are, there's so many layers to them.
Magnificent
Yeah,
creatures. We
they really are. And it's a feeling like I've stayed up all night with one. We had a story where uh one of our bachelors, little guy, he got stuck in wire. And so Andrew and I went up, and in order to get the wire off, we had to build trust really quickly,
mm-hmm.
because they're wild here. They run wild here. And so we did what we do. And there was another guy there who I'd said to him, Michael, you have to take care of Peace. You really do. He's only little, you know, he's been chucked out of the herd, and you have to take, well, he took that so seriously, and he was hovering around, and we were getting Peace to eat hay. We had lots of lucerne, and we were working with him, and he got used to our touch really quickly, and we were able to eventually get every bit of wire off him. And
Beautiful.
but Michael Michael was amazing. And then another herd came up and saw that we had hay. And at that time there was Michael, Magic, and Little Peace. And Michael and Magic put Little Peace between them, and Michael protected that horse with his own body. He got
Mm,
kicked.
mm, mm.
He protected that little boy, and it was so amazing. And my heart just opened with gratitude. And it was just the most incredible experience to be there, to become heard, as you say, to become heard with these wild horses, and to be there, not just experiencing it with our eyes,
No,
but
with our
with our
heart,
souls
with
and
our
our
being.
hearts,
Yes.
with our entire being. And you feel it, and your heart just goes like this. And I'm looking at Michael and tears are running down my eyes. And I'm going, oh my God, you are incredible. Honestly, I'm
Yes.
tearing up now. And then
What a
I've had
um,
other stories with like we had a teenager
what
in,
I'm going to do
yep.
is just ask you, because
Oh, we're
I
running out of
think
time.
that
Oh
we
my God,
should,
I'm sorry.
I know we could go on for hours, but what I'm feeling is that we could do another talk and tell some stories.
Okay.
And because as you're speaking, I'm thinking of experiences with my horses and the trust that they have in me and the trust I have in them. And I would love to continue this. We've been going for close to an hour. And because I really want you to read from your book, and then I'd
Okay.
love to book in another video chat with you so that we can talk about the stories, because what we want to do is show people the beauty and the magic and the healing of these divine sentient beings, and how much they are needed on this planet, on our earth, in our country, in our states, in our land. And so let's do that. I don't mind how many video calls we'll do. We can do a whole lot of different stories, because it's all about, that's one way we can help to educate people and help to get
That's
it
it.
out there.
Yeah.
And I think, focusing on the magic of these horses is going to help people get a better picture, a
Well,
better
yeah.
visual, a better feeling for these beautiful animals. So let's go for the reading.
Yeah, this is my card deck, and it's called the Fae Elder's Guide to the Higher Dimensions. And one of the cards is Wild Horse. And when I see with my spirit eyes, and you might too, is that many ascended masters, I like to call them, and old ones like centaurs and other beings, unicorns. Like we have 4 we call unicorns here. um
I've always called mine
but
unicorns. I love them.
yeah, I know, I love the unicorns. So but they're running with the wild horses, so I'll just read what I channeled.
Yes, do
um
please.
I wonder if I've got time to read it all. A wild horse, oh, that's just that. Wild horses are an intelligent, highly evolved, spiritual, ancient race of being who who have inhabited the earth for millennia, thanks to their special gifts of adaptability. Pure of heart and noble of spirit, their connection to the mother and to the forest community of the wild is deep and mystical. Their work is vital. When they are at peace, they have a powerful and positive effect on the unified field of consciousness. Wild horses are called the dolphins of the land. They have a huge magnetic field around their hearts, much bigger than humans, and line up with the Earth's magnetic field when they sleep. The herd is a tightly knit tribe, providing safety, companionship, and strong family bonds, ruled by compassion and deep love for each other. Centaurs, unicorns, and flying horses are kin to the earthly equine. They are usually found where the wild horses roam, remaining unseen by most and largely reduced to childhood stories, myths, and legends. But centaurs in particular live among the wild horse herds, disguised as horses. They are friends of the Fae. Many humans sense centaurs without seeing or fully comprehending what they sense. Wild horses improve the biodiversity of the areas where they roam. Progressive conservationists and ecologists are heralding them as the species to save the planet from the mess humans have made. They take care of their wider wild community in many ways, including breaking up the snow and ice, giving others a chance to find food, and digging for water so they and others can drink. Their grazing keeps down the risk of wildfires. I do have a lot more, but I don't know how much time I've got.
That's okay. I think that's beautiful. And again, we can put in the information. And I've just had a light bulb moment that I will speak to you about. But that last bit where you said they help prevent fires because they eat down
The fuel.
the fuel. And I mean, it's just like, you know, as we said earlier, every animal, especially, well, our wild animals, has a purpose. They were created, and however they were created, they came to this earth because each and every one of them helps with biodiversity. It helps keep balance with Mother Earth. And I cannot express enough how it is we, the humans, that interfere, that fuck it all up and create all the damage. It's not the animals. And I have a friend, yeah, that we could talk ages about kangaroos as well, with culling and all of this stuff. But what I would like to do is say thank you so much, Billie. I would love to get back on a call with you very soon as you're able to. And we will perhaps do a few short ones where we talk about the magical experiences of horses and their nature and their behavior, because we have so much to learn, as we do all other animals as well. So any last words, Billie, before we finish off?
I'd just like to say thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for having me on the show, and having an opportunity to talk for the wild horses. And if everyone can get in a submission by September 11, and just say no to aerial culling, it is really very, very cruel, and beg Penny Sharp to immediately stop killing or removing, trapping everything, the horses
Yes.
down there. Leave them alone. There's not enough down there. And you know, my own um my own stallion, Merlin, who was a Kyandra Grey, came to me in a dream and said, "Save me and my family." And he'd come with a whole lot of little peppercorns and you know, other people. And I rang Parks, and this was when, you know, Parks were terrific, and they wanted to actually keep him because he was so magnificent, and so that he would, you know, put good genes back into there. And that was, that's what I was used to. So I was really shocked when people just wanted to get rid of them all.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I can appreciate that, and that perhaps could be another good story to share.
yeah.
So
But
what I'm
but
gonna
I'm sorry. What I was just about to say was, you know, it's just so important to understand, if he can reach out to me in a dream and ask for me to save him, you know, I need people to understand that they are much more than target practice. They're much more. There's
oh,
so much going on. And
yes.
I've got lots of stories about that we can discuss another
Well,
day.
we will be doing lots of them. I'm more than happy to do that. So what I'm going to ask of you is to get me Penny Sharp's information so we can attach it to this video, and also ask people to share it. And I will gladly share that aside from the video as well. It's been beautiful. It's touched my heart. I understand it. I get horses. And I respect and honor them. So thank you, Billie, and we will get as much information out to as many people as we can. And if you're watching this, even if you don't watch the whole part of it, share.
Please, you know, let's get the truth out. Thank you so much, Julie.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And thank you to our listeners and watchers. Bye for now.